Welcome back, everybody, to another Q&A with Dr. J, Dunn, and GC. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that I find fascinating. First of all, the name of the topic is brain allergies, which does not mean that you might be allergic to your brain, although some days I feel like I must be allergic to my brain because it's not doing what I want. This is something that Dr. J is very passionate about. So it builds on the idea of the histamine that gives you sniffles or maybe a joint ache or whatever. But this really goes deeper and speaks to how our quality of life is every day. Dr. J, tell us what the heck brain allergies are.
Well, yeah, you're right. This is a topic that is near and dear to my heart because I have had this issue. And it's funny, I've talked about mast cell activation syndrome. We've discussed it in the past, but it's amazing how these reactions, these histamine reactions, can affect your brain chemistry. It's really fascinating. And it can be any food, right? It could be things that you think are healthy. It's not just peanuts or eggs, or it could be, for me, it's lettuce, which is crazy, and chocolate. But when I get a reaction, the first thing that happens is really bad depression, just sobbing my eyes out. And then I'm like, this is odd. If you step back away from yourself and go, wow, that's extreme reaction. There was not that much going on. But it's stunning how it can affect your brain chemistry. And so I read this book many years ago called Brain Allergies and by Dr. Philpott. It's fuzzy there, but and it really opened my eyes as to this association. A lot of people think of allergies as just dripping from the face and coughing, runny nose, itchy eyes. But for some people, it can hit them in the brain. And so, how does this relate back to genetics? There are certain genetic variants that we have talked about, the DAO, HNMT, MAOA, MAOB, that can lead to higher histamine levels. But what's really fascinating, and I've just been doing a lot of research on this, is that in conjunction with those genetic variants, it's a combination of affecting the histamine receptors. So there are four main receptors in the body, but in the brain as well. So the histamine receptor 1, if you have high histamine levels from those genetic variants that we mentioned, it can cause insomnia, racing thoughts, irritability, anxiety, insomnia, sensory sensation hyperarousal, basically, hypersensitivity to sensations. The H2 receptor hits more in the gut brain category. So you may have irritable bowel syndrome kind of thing, but it also affects your mood regulation there as well. The histamine receptor number 3 can cause low motivation, ADHD, brain fog, and just inability to think straight. Just really amazing to me.
Hmm.
And then the histamine receptor 4 causes more anxiety with fatigue. They described it like long COVID signs and symptoms. So I'm wondering if some people that think they might have long COVID actually could have like a brain allergy, or the increased sensitivity from a long COVID can lead to an increased sensitivity to histamine. But this one will lead to mast cell activation, inflammation, and depression. So it's just so interesting. And I'm building new sliders in our reports that'll show if you have that combination. So it's what we call a polygenic risk score. That just means that it's never one gene, one symptom. It's always a combination. So we combine these things. So we look at, do you have the DAO? Do you have the HNMT, the MAO, MAOB, and these histamine receptors? Then we're going to have a different risk score that will show that you might be susceptible to these brain allergies. And it may not be just the VDR that we've talked about or the COMT that affect the brain and mood. It could be an allergic reaction to things. And so to me, I think that's just a fascinating topic.
Yeah. And I always like to be clued in as to the possible source of something, right? Correlation is not causation. However, if you get a repeated feeling of something and then you look at your gene report and you go, oh, maybe that's why. Then you can go to somebody who practitioner and say, take a look at this. What do you think? What can I do about it?
Yeah, absolutely. And what you can do too is do a food diary. Watch your mood and make a list of what you're eating and then watch how your mood changes. And you can start to spot maybe these patterns, but don't make the mistake of thinking tomatoes are healthy or lettuce is healthy, or don't get it in your brain that you know what the triggers are. They could be anything. It really is across the board. I want to read you a little passage in this book, the brain allergy book. It said 92% of those classified as schizophrenic develop symptoms as maladaptive reactions to food and chemicals. 64% manifested symptom formation on exposure to wheat. 51% manifested symptom formation on exposure to mature corn products. 51% manifested symptom formation on exposure to pasteurized whole cow's milk. Approximately 75% of the schizophrenics manifested symptom formation to tobacco. 10% of this group became grossly psychotic, with a paranoid reaction being the most common type of symptom formed in tobacco psychosis. Some reacted to petroleum chemical hydrocarbons, and some of these were so severe as to precipitate suicidal attempts or delusions.
Wow.
That's pretty severe and pretty robust reaction. So I just want to bring that to people's attentions that it's not always just something wrong with the brain, but it could be being caused by a food or a chemical or this combination of reactions and histamine in the food. Yeah, it's stunning. So some things, again, some things that you can do to really help this. One thing is if you feel like this is one of your issues and you have some of these genetic variants, making sure that your food is fresh, because the more a food stays in the refrigerator and ferments, it's going to create more histamine. And especially like fish is one of the worst. So don't ever eat leftover fish if you're one of those people that you think is having this issue. Making sure that you get sleep on time, making a consistent schedule for sleep and avoiding nighttime heat or exercise. Watching blood sugar can do it too. Getting morning light for some reason has a resetting effect on the histamine receptors. Omega 3s, your essential fatty acids, vitamin D also. Avoiding alcohol because alcohol really cranks up the histamine levels. And then what, again, doing a journal of your mood and the foods that you've eaten and seeing if there's a pattern there.
That is a simple place to start, really, to just write down you have something going on, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden you say, huh, Dr. J said I should write things down when I have a weird mood out of the clear blue sky. What did I have for dinner or lunch, whatever it is. Yeah.
And we're so funny as people. We like, oh, it must have been what so and so said to me, or this is what happened when I was a kid. My dad was mean to me, or we make up a story. When our moods tank, we go, oh, it's because of this. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's really biochemical, and our bodies are inflamed, and our brain chemistry is going to go wackadoo. Just consider that.
Always something to consider after we have these topics discussed.
Yeah.
We would love to hear from you with your questions that we can answer. Dr. J will always do research, so you can send those to info@myhappygenes.com. If you've never been to the website, head on over there. We have lots of blog posts. You can see how we compare to other companies, what makes us different. And if you're watching this on YouTube, and if you aren't subscribed, I would suggest you do that too, so you don't miss any of these. Dr. J?
Yeah, and it really helps us get the message out there to people who need this information. So we appreciate your liking and subscribing and sharing, if you would. That would be amazing.
All right, everybody, we'll be back with another Q&A with Dr. J real soon. Bye, Dr. J.
Bye, TC.